Now let's talk about Afghanistan, where the members of extremist group are imposing harsh interpretation of Islamic law through their inhuman acts on people of Afghanistan. Every other day, new videos are emerging and exhibit the real face of the Taliban. Recently, Taliban forcefully entered the house of a local Afghan resident without permission, asserted to be a security sweep of Kabul, and claiming the searches to be constructive and in the public's best interests.
Taliban armed men pushing and kicking the doors with all force, entering the house of a local Afghan resident without permission and prior notice. The Taliban are conducting a huge security sweep of Kabul and other Afghan cities, going house to house in search of weapons and criminals, blamed for a recent spate of robberies and kidnappings. This recent regime in Afghanistan has increased the presence of forces in Tajik and Hazara minority-dominated areas of the country. Some Emirate residents have posted videos on social media showing homes they said have been trashed during Taliban searches. The Taliban administration claims that the searches it is conducting are constructive and in the public's best interests. Meanwhile, Andres von Brandt, ambassador and head of delegation of the European Union, has asked the Taliban regime to immediately stop intimidations and house searching.
Security situation in Afghanistan is very complex. There are many actors, and we have seen how the United States, when it left, there was a complete mess as far as security or governance was concerned. Taliban is in power, but Taliban has not got that kind of an experience after such a situation that they had to take over. It is a different kind of a thing. Plus, there are many groups, terrorists, extremists, against the Taliban's philosophy, who are trying to also create a problem. And when the Americans have left huge cache of arms, those arms were taken over by many people, and they are being used now in the by various miscreants. And so I think that what Taliban is trying to do is trying to minimize the damage.
Every other day, new videos are emerging of the war-torn country, in which local Afghan residents are being thrashed down by the insurgent group. Afghans are not only facing intimidation, torture and violence, but also poverty and starvation. The humanitarian situation in Afghanistan has deteriorated drastically since the Taliban took control of Kabul last year in mid-August. According to humanitarian organizations, acute malnutrition is spiking across the country. 95% of households have been experiencing food insecurity. Afghan children are starving to death nearly every month. The deteriorating situation of Afghanistan has compelled dozens of people to sell their organs to feed their families. A delegation of UN emergency experts who visited Afghanistan earlier this month noted that more than 24 million people, that is 59% of the Afghan population, request life-saving assistance in the country, which is a staggering 30% increase since 2021.
Well, as far as healthcare is concerned, I think that situation is dire, very, very fragile. People are suffering. And this has been happening for some time now. Even before, it was not that good. But after Taliban took over and during the transition, it had been extremely difficult. Fortunately, now that we are seeing is that the international community has woken up. Aid agencies are helping. India itself has provided more than 4 consignments of drugs, medicines, vaccines, and other related items apart from the 50,000 tons of wheat that it has provided. So there are a lot of agencies, United Nations, World Food Programme, WHO, and all are engaged in providing some help and assistance. Recently, the United Nations has said that it will be releasing $1 billion, which is committed by donors. And hopefully that will address the situation.
With the economy on the brink of collapse, aid alone cannot adequately address the crisis. The international community must find ways to address the current banking problem and continue to exempt humanitarian and service delivery operations from sanctions. Common Afghans are paying heavily for both Afghanistan's conflict and its abrupt end in Taliban victory. To abandon the Afghan people now would be a historic mistake. Urgent steps must be taken to address the looming humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan and stave off economic collapse.